I refuse to watch a Netflix movie starring Sandra Bullock that isn't Bird Box 2, all of the birds in the boxes. Bird Box 2, box birds. I clearly can't think of a good title. This intro is a waste of your time. Let's do this. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. This is not Bird Box 2. It's The Unforgivable, a film that I didn't know too much about, but I saw the trailer and was really intrigued. And I'm a huge fan of this cast, from Vincent D'Onofrio to Viola Davis to, of course, Sandra Bullock, who I believe is a great actor. So we're going to talk about all of these things spoiler-free. This movie is coming to Netflix on Friday. So a woman is released from prison after serving a sentence for a violent crime and re-enters a society that refuses to forgive her past. I have so much more to say now than I did when this movie ended, because while there are definitely things about this film that are frustrating from a script perspective, a story perspective, just watching it and feeling a few of those emotional beats, and of course the performances, even though a few of them are wasted, they're going to be really good. On its surface, it's a great story. I love how it's so simple. Sandra Bullock's character of Ruth, coming out of prison where she's been for so long, she's on a mission to get to someone that she hasn't seen in oh so long. But there are reasons behind why it's so difficult for her to tackle this very tough task of finding her estranged younger sister. Now, it took me a bit to grasp the concept that this was her sister, just because of the massive age difference. I kept wanting to say it was her daughter, but it is that kind of relationship, right? Because she essentially raised her, and there is a deep connection that they had, but now it's come to a point to where we're not even entirely sure, because her sister was so young, that she remembers her older sister in Sandra Bullock, or if what happened resonated with her in the way that maybe she expects it too. So there's a lot going on there, but again, it's a very emotional story, and just seeing Sandra Bullock try to tackle this character, even though there is a huge lack of dialogue at the beginning, we don't really learn that much about her. And it was understandable at first, because she's just kind of that kind of character. She stays quiet when she needs to. We see her erupt at points a bit later because of that emotion. Those were the scenes that I loved with her. But for the most part, she stays quiet and restrained. Then she encounters Vincent D'Onofrio and Viola Davis's character in a way that was odd, right? She approaches the house that is kind of the center point of what went down that sent her to prison in the first place. And the way that they kind of meet up for the first time, and the fact that he just kind of says, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like an unstable lady just stumbling across my property, but hey, come in, have a cup of coffee. You know, it's that kind of lack of realism. Okay, he may just be the nicest guy, but Viola Davis is like, I don't know if this is the best idea, but it just so happens that his character, convenience there, is a lawyer, so he is attempting to get her as close as she can get to her sister, and that is, even though, you know, some things here and there that I didn't love the build-up for, that is the storyline that I really cared about in this film. The problem with this movie, and I say movie, deep down I'm thinking this should have absolutely been a limited series, is that there is so much going on everywhere else. We had this simplistic story, but in the background, there are two brothers that we really don't know anything about. All that we know is their connection to what she did to get sent to prison, and they, or at least one of them, and then it kind of transfers on into the other one of them, they're kind of out for revenge, and it's my big problem. There's so much potential with this movie, but coming back to the brothers, they didn't really get anything to do but set up the dramatic tension that leads us into that final confrontation that you only care about when it comes to one side, that's Sandra Bullock's side. Their side, you're supposed to feel sympathy for them, and I guess you technically do because of what happened, but they are characters that just, they're not fleshed out at all. They are stale, dull characters. And then there is a relationship with John Bernthal, who is in this movie, and I love the beginning of that. And there's a moment that they have a bit later in the movie where he reveals something about himself, and I'm like, yes, let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can build on that. Okay, you're going to give us a storyline that essentially becomes a waste of time because you do nothing with it. Because it did nothing with it, it was a waste of time, and I hate saying that because I think John Bernthal is a beast of an actor. Viola Davis gets nothing to do in this movie. Her one big and integral moment with Sandra Bullock's character essentially leads to her just becoming a driver for Bullock, and I'm like, why is she here if you're not going to give her anything of importance to do so, she was wasted. I think Bernthal was wasted, even though I loved the beginning of that storyline. The two brothers, I cared nothing about. At a point, there's a scene where characters are confronting each other involving Sandra Bullock and Vincent D'Onofrio, and I just thought that could have and should have been prevented because of the fact that she's a bit more on edge than she should have been at that moment. Again, it's all coming back to a lack of realism, but also so many subplots that would have been great if there was more time, which is why I'm going to stick with my guns and say this absolutely 100% should have been a limited series, because the idea and the core emotion is there. So I'm not going to blame people who watch this movie and say, yeah, it was a great concept, but man, the execution just bothered me so much because missed opportunity after missed opportunity. A movie that had 3 subplots with no conclusions, and I could argue that the main storyline didn't really conclude all that well. Before I give you guys my score, I want to say this movie is still worth watching. Just because I was disappointed doesn't mean you have to be, but I do need to know down below, what are your thoughts on this movie? And if you like this video and you want to support this channel, it would mean the world if you smash that thumbs up down below. This is an emotional story on its surface, but the film never fully fleshes out its characters, and this leads to an inevitable lack of connection. I'm going a 40% with my score. Just disappointment across the board, but I don't want to go any lower because the elements are there, and I think some of the acting is really, really good. I just wish there was more time spent on so many of these things. So appreciate you guys big time for watching. I'll be seeing you very soon.